should okay. So we want to look at Microsoft Excel in, somebody said not couple of hours, in a couple of next couple of minutes. All right. And we want to look at what Microsoft Excel is all about. So my job basically is to break it down so that you can chew. So, and would be, what's going on now? What's happening? Show. Okay. I'll skip this. Okay. So Microsoft Excel is the world's most popular spreadsheet program. And it was, or it is still part of Microsoft Office suite. And when I say Microsoft Office suites, we're talking about Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Publisher, Microsoft Access, and the likes. All right, so all of them, it was those days when you want to go and install Microsoft's either Excel or PowerPoint, you have to buy about 5 to 7 CDs. The one for Excel, the one for PowerPoint. But now, all of them are now enclosed in one file. And that's why it's called Microsoft Office Suites. And then they have a competitor, which is the Google guys. Theirs is called the Google Workspace. All right, Google Workspace. So there, instead of having Microsoft Word, you have Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and the likes. All right. So, but if time would permit us, we may go into Google Workspace, but if not, we'll stick to Microsoft Excel. All right. So it is a widely used spreadsheet program designed for creating my ID. Yeah. The volume of my system. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, it's better now. Okay. All right. So this is an Excel interface, and we'll see how some of all of these icons that have been, where you see those red lines, I would love to explain the functions of each and every one of them. All right. And so okay. So the first arrow there, that tab is called that's where you get the title of the workbook you are working on. So Excel is like a notebook. Can somebody help me with the notebook here? Good. So Excel workbook is the entire booklet. And then inside the booklet, you have different sheets, right? And so the entire workflow or workbook, that's where you see the name. So I could decide to save it as, by default, it usually comes as book 1. So you now be the one to save it to your preferred name. So when let's say I save it to, okay, I see Oluwakemi here. Let's say I decide to save it as Oluwakemi. So the name up there would now become Oluwakemi. All right, so that's the title of the book. However, if you look downward here, you will see that you have sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. There's a plus icon here. And for every Excel workbook, you have liberty to create about 255 worksheets. That's how powerful Microsoft Excel can be. All right. And sorry, you can have this now. Thank you. And so after the what's it called? Sorry. Okay. So an active cell is a cell which is currently being selected. A cell that is selected is called an active cell. And how do you know an active cell? You usually would see a line. You can see when you select any of these cells here, all of these boxes here, they are referred to as cell. And whenever you select on any of these ones, to show that it's an active one, to show that you can now start typing in it, it usually will be highlighted with this green border line. Now, in Google Sheets, which is the sister version of this for Google Workspace, it's usually colored blue, right? So but for Excel, Microsoft Excel, it's colored green. That's how you know it is what it's an active cell, right? So now a column. What's a column? A column is a vertical set of cells. And when I teach, because I also teach kids Microsoft Excel as well, and when I teach them, I usually will tell them that a column is those lines from your head to your toe. So means that all these lines that are connoted with alphabets, those are the columns. That way you won't forget, Abby. You want to just say the one from your head to your toe. And then rows are from your left ear to your right ear. So the lines east to west, right? Those are rows. Are we together? Good. So in a particular worksheet, you have about 16,384 columns. And then for rows, you have about 1,048,576 rows. Now, for those of us who would eventually come into the data analytics class, you will see that there's going to be an issue with working with larger data sets. Of course, when you start working with data as much as 10 million rows, Excel will not be able to carry them again. So you now have to move into SQL, Python, to a larger file, a larger software that can, house more data. But yeah, that's by the way. So what happened? Why is somebody laughing? I'm sure somebody is going to be asking, how did I know that we have about 16,300? Did I sit down one day and start counting all of them? So there's a formula you can use to do that. Let me see. I think I can pull up my Excel. Okay, so I'm just going to, sorry, I'll pull this guy this way. And okay, I think I want to increase this a bit so you can see. think this is big enough. So there's a formula in Excel you could use to get the number of columns or row in a range. So a range would be a couple of more than one cells. All right. So if I want to know how many, this is a range, right? If I want to know the number of columns that are here, I can use a formula to get that. So now I want to use a formula to get the number of columns in our entire worksheet. So that formula will be equals to column. By the way, in Excel, you know, in elementary maths, when you say when you want to get 2 plus 2, you say 2 plus 2 equals to 4. But in Excel, it's the other way around. You start whatever you want to write, either a formula or a function, with equals to. So, for example, if I want to do 2 plus 2, now I'll have to say equals to 2 plus 2. And when I say enter, it gives me that the answer is 4. All right. So, again, we want to use a function here. Yeah. So I want to select the first, this is the first column here. And I want to go to the last column on my sheet, on my worksheet. I cannot come here and be dragging or would slip here. So I can use a shortcut here. On your keyboard, wait first, let me start. How many of us have seen a computer before? Why people laughing? There are some people that have not seen. So just follow me. Here. You have seen a laptop before. You know how your keyboard is. You know there's a control key. There's something called control on your keyboard. There's also something called shift on your keyboard. Okay. So I'm going to press Control Shift and my arrow key, arrow to the right, because my direction is good. So Control Shift right. So it has selected all the columns in this particular row. Am I making sense? Good. So I'm going to close my brackets and hit enter. Okay. Why do I have this? Sorry. Okay. So it's columns with an S, please. Yeah. So it tells me that in that particular row, from the beginning to the end, we have about 16,384. And then if we go try for the rows now, equals to rows, bracket open, select the first guy here. So this time around, the direction is where? Down. Good. So Control Shift down. And so it selects everything. I'll close my bracket and hit what? Enter. So it tells me that we have about 1,048,576. All right. So that's for that guy. And then an Excel range, like I made mention, consists of 2 or more adjacent cells. These cells can be in the same row, the same column, or multiple rows and columns. Then the next thing we want to look at is the address bar or name box. I'm sure I used to see people's funny comments. Please, direction to SpeedLink, or no direction to SpeedLink. After we have taken our time to draw, one day we need to draw a map for you people to come to this place. All right, so what brought me to that? The address of Speed, everybody here, we all have an address, correct? You're good. So in Excel, every cell has an address. And how do you know the address of a cell? When you select this guy, I've already explained what columns are to us, right? So what column is this particular cell? This D, right? Good. And what row is it on? Somebody saying D3. No, what row is it on? Good. So the address of this cell now is what? D3. Does that make sense? Good. So like I made mention, every cell here has an address. And this is where you would know, you can see here, if you look at this place, this is the address box or the name box, address bar rather, or name box, right? So you can also decide to, I know in this part of, especially this, sorry, people are River State people, but you know your people, they can wake up one morning and say, this place is no longer Okewale. It's now Chinwo Avenue. So you can do the same thing in Excel to say, okay, this guy that you call D3 is no longer called D3 again. I want to call, what's your name? Happiness. I want to call it Happiness. So if I come here now, let's assume this guy here is this 1 million, and this, I want to change the address of this. I can come to the name box here and decide to call it Happiness. Hope I'm spelling it correctly. Right? Okay. So Happiness. So if I come here now and say equals to Happiness, you can see it has even become a function. If I say equals to Happiness, it will now give me the contents of that cell. Right? So I can decide to come here and say, maybe I don't know the name of the address again because I've already given the new address. I can say equals to Happiness multiplied by 2. Multiplied by 2. It's going to give me the figure. If I decide to come here and change this now, say the content of Happiness, the occupants, the people staying in Happiness again, they are packed out. So a new set of person, I can come here. Let's say this is 5,000. You see everything here also changes. Are we together? All right. So moving on, I think I brought that to explain name box and address bar. Moving on, so I'm going to be a bit fast because I want people to get this in. Formula bar. The next thing is the formula bar. It's an input bar below the ribbon, and it shows the content of the active cell. We'll go back to our Excel sheet. What is in this content? What are you seeing here? 10,000. But the actual content of that cell is not 10,000. How do I know? When I click on it now and I look at my formula bar, this is the formula bar. This is where your formulas would be shown. All right? And so you can now see the actual content. The actual content there is that what? Happiness multiplied by 2. So that is the formula bar. This is the formula bar. And you can expand it if you want. You can see this drop down arrow here. When you click on it, it becomes a little bit bigger. All right. Moving on. The next thing is the title bar. I've already explained that to us. That's the name of the workbook. Next is the file menu. So file menu would be this guy, which is the first menu here. File. When you click on file, it takes you to the backstage, the back end of your Excel, where you can create a new file. You can open a file. You can save as. You can get the info. You can print. Now, the difference between save and save as, they mean two things, two different things. For save would mean you're working on a particular file and you want to save it. However, for save as means you want to save it as another file, right? So assuming you're working on, take for example, I have a template for, of course, when you want to start collecting your letter, I'm going to start issuing an ownership letter to you. So if I already have a template and I want to edit for the next person, if I do save, it will mean it's going to save on that same file for the same person, but I want to have multiple, files. So I will then go to save as. All right. So it now gives me an opportunity to create an entirely different file. All right. And so, yeah, that's for file. I can decide to go back and let's see. Let's go back to our slides. What's the next thing? Yeah, the next thing is the quick access toolbar. Quick access toolbar. So if you look at this after the icon, after the icon of the Excel, that's this Excel icon here. You have some icons here. You have the autosave, you have save icon, you have the undo, and then redo. All of these guys here, after the title bar, that's after the title. This is the title of this document. Sorry, all the icons before, before the title, all of these guys are referred to as the quick access toolbars. And what do? These are icons where you don't want to look for them quick access. You want to be able to easily access, exactly, right? So you can actually change what is there. If you look at the, there's this drop down arrow here. If I select it, I can select what I want showing here. If I want open, you can see open has been included. If I want spelling, it has been included. So whatever you feel is for you, you necessarily do not want to have difficult accessing them. You can just keep pumping them on that bar. Are we together? Good. The next one, moving on. The next is the ribbon bar. So the ribbon bar is a section that contains different Excel capabilities such as blah, blah, blah. Now, this is the ribbon bar. Everything you see here, from the file, the home, the insert, the draw, till you get to help. All of those are the ribbon bar. And then the ribbon bar, it is now, what's the word now? Broken down into different tabs. So from the home, you have the various menus here. And then if I click on insert, you see another crop of menus will come up. If you go to draw, another crop will come up. So depends on what you want to actually work on or do, right? So moving on, let's see what our slide has. The worksheet tab, I had already made mention of this. This tab shows all the worksheets in your workbook. And there are about 255 worksheets in a workbook. You can always rename the worksheets, okay? So then you have the status bar. So the status bar is just by the, if you look down here, for those of us at the back, I don't know if you can see this, but it's usually the last line here. It tells you if your cell is perfect. You can see it's saying ready. The next thing here is what's the calculate, and you have accessibility. If I right click on this part, I can decide to get this workbook statistics. I can decide to get include some other icons on that status bar, things like workbook statistics. Maybe I also want to include sheet number. So you can see now it's telling me that, okay, this is sheet 2 of 2. If I add another one, you can see it's saying sheet 3 of 3. Now this workbook statistics, what it does is it gives you a brief summary of the contents of your worksheet. If I come to this particular sheet now and click on workbook statistics, let me see, can I expand this? Unfortunately, no. But here you can see it's telling me that the current sheet, the end of sheet is G5, which is this guy here. It's telling me that the cells with data, they are just 5. It's telling me that you have about 4 formulas. So it just gives you a brief overview of, what is currently on your worksheet. Okay, so what else? So we've talked about status bar. Yeah, sorry. The Excel interface data entry. So by default, again, sorry, I may be mentioning data analytics from this because this is more like their field. All right. So when when you are typing on Microsoft Excel or spreadsheet packages, really, by default, all texts are aligned to the left. Of course, don't worry, data analytics, we'll go over this slide again when it comes to that time. Yeah. These people, they're just borrowing our course. So for now, let's fit them. So let's assume I want to write Nosa and I hit enter. Because it is a text, it is aligned to the what? To the left. If I try to type a phone number, let's say Happiness says she wants to give me 50 million, and I hit enter, you can see it is aligned to the what? Right. Now, again, I'm going to say, when you start working with, there's some kind of data set you'll be working on or working with. And when the file came to you, you are told to get the total sum. But for some reason, you are doing the equals to sum. It's still giving you 0. It means that data has an issue. The first thing you want to know, because you already know that by default, numbers are supposed to be aligned to the right. When you look at that data, you see that these figures are aligned to the left. So it means that you actually need to convert. Excel is recognizing it as a text. So you need to convert it to numbers, even though they are actually showing as figures. Now, you see why this knowledge is essential. You need to know, because you could spend weeks. This is my Excel, they work, they work. But it's just that you have not done the right thing. You now need to actually convert it to a proper, and there are a series of formulas you can use. There's equals to value. I think equals to value actually converts a text string to numbers. Don't worry, let me not bore you with that. But you could still do some research on that. And then alphanumerics are usually also aligned to the left. I'm sure we know what alphanumerics are. I don't know what alphanumeric is. Raise up your hand. I like this kind of people. Just be truthful. I will explain. Alphanumerics is a combination of alphabets and numbers. All right. So when you have things like this, some of you, your passwords are alphanumerics. Here. So when you have things written like this, they are usually aligned to the left. All right. And then dates as well. Dates are aligned to the right. In Excel, in fact, not just Excel, I think in virtually every field, dates are treated with care. Because if you mix, I know in is it Python now? Yeah, in Python, you write your year first before the month and then the day. But in SQL or in Excel, you can write the day first. So you need to know whatever field you are working, you will be in cybersecurity, whatever. You need to know the right approach or right way to play around with working with dates. And then I'm sure we also know that there are ways to write the date thing. Some persons, I think UK is day before month and then year. US is month first, year, month, day, and year. So depending on your system, you need to know the dates configuration on your system, so that because Excel is going to use that same pattern. So you don't say, but this is my thing, they work. But it just means that you should check how things are done. Yeah. So formulas and functions, we normally would use them interchangeably, but they mean two different things. Functions are system-defined mathematical expression used to solve problems. So that's functional, yes. While formulas are user-defined mathematical expression. Let's go to Excel so we see what I mean. Now, I have, let me just include some figures here. This is 2000. Somebody should check time. Once it's 3, just buzz me. So I want to add all of these guys together, right? Now, using functions, Excel has numerous functions you can make use of. And the function for adding up in Excel is sum, equals to sum, equals to sum. So you see, it says it adds all the numbers in a range of cells. So I'm going to open my bracket, and then I can highlight the 3 of them, which is G3 to G5. And I can close my bracket, and I would say what? Enter. So it's telling me that everything here is about 35,000. However, I want to do the same thing, but I want to use a formula. Remember I said functions are system-defined mathematical expressions. If I want to now use a user-defined, which is, it's me that is defining how I want this to be solved. So I'm going to come here and say equals to this guy plus this guy plus this guy. This, in its own sense, is a formula. I'm not using the system's own mathematical expression. Does that make sense? Because when I hit enter, I should still have 35,000 naira. Are we together? Okay. All right. Moving on. Yeah, I think everything I have made mention here is. So yeah, let's go in. Let's see. I would love to play around with some. So give me a second. Okay. So yeah, we've talked about the anatomy of the spreadsheet, right? And then let's quickly look at Excel cursors and pointers. So by default, Excel has about 3 major types of cursors or pointers. Do we know what cursors are? Okay. See this thing that is moving anytime your mouse moves. Eh? This is a cursor. All right. So now I'm now telling you that in Excel, you have about 3 types, and the 3 of them mean different things at different points or different times. And the first one is the select. See this big guy, this one, this cross, this big one, it shows that, okay, you want to select a particular cell. So it gives you room to actually select. However, if I want to move, let's say these are custards. Let me expand this a little. Why are you like this? Why are you? So this is our custards record here. I want to move everything here to probably somewhere else. We have been tenant. This custard has been tenant here for 10 years. He wants to move to another place. So now watch what happens when I take my cursor to the edge of the line. Are we together? So it has changed to a 4-direction arrow. So this is the move cursor. So I can now click, hold, and drag to anywhere I want to drag it to. That is the move cursor. And so I can decide to say, okay, I don't want that again. Let me expand this a bit. Okay. So what if I want to move this custard guy to probably to the point at the point where spaghetti is? Let's try and do that. Let's see. It's telling you there's already a data here. Do you want to replace it? But that's not what we want to do, right? We just want to move. So when we bring it down, spaghetti should go up. So what do? We'll come to this our custard guy. Instead of just directly going ahead to click, I would hold my shift key on my keyboard. I would hold shift key and then I can click now. And then I'll come to where the spaghetti guy is. Underneath it, I would leave my mouse first. And here you go. So custard has been taken away from the first position to the last one without displacing anybody. Should I do it again? All right. So I said hold your shift key. Hello? Any issue? Hold your shift key on your keyboard, hold it down, click on that particular cell content you want to move. Still, your hands should still be on your shift key, and then you can now drag to wherever you want it to be. For me, I want it to be between my spaghetti and total. I can decide to say, okay, between soya bean and milk, whichever one. Now, when you are releasing, you release your mouse first. Your shift should still be on hold. And then when you release your mouse, then you can now take off the shift key. So what? Why is the mix? They are dummy datas now. They are not. All right. So the next thing we want to look at is the fill tool. The fill tool. We've looked at select, we've looked at move. Now we want to see the fill tool. So let's assume I'll come here now and write. There's only one name that's coming to my head though. Happiness. Yeah. Sorry. Happiness, right? So I want to fill all these cells here with happiness. I don't have to start typing them one after the other. So all I need to do is I'll come here. Now, if you look at this guy, you will notice that there is a little dot to the far right. Is that correct? When I take my cursor there, do you see that the cursor has changed again? So this is the fill cursor. I can now click and drag, and it goes ahead to fill everything there with happiness. I can also decide to fill to the right, and it fills everything with happiness. Now, Excel is also smart to recognize dates, or basically what it is doing here is It is trying to recognize patterns. It knows that the guy here, the first guy here is happiness. And when you want to feel that, it means it's seeing that first pattern, which is happiness, and feeling every other person with happiness. However, if I do not want this, let's say, okay, let's come here and say, I want a month of the year. The first month of the year is what? January. So I'll come here and say January. Now, Excel is smart enough to recognize that this is a date. So when I come here and try to fill down, it should give me the remaining part of the one. What if what? Hmm? Yeah.
January is somebody's thing.
No,
Some people answer April. And some people answer May.
And then you need to now remember I said it follows pattern. So let's try and see. If I come here and say January, so I need to also tell you that hey, the next person should also be January. So let's see. If I highlight the two of them and fill down, so it's going to. So remember I said it follows patterns. So you need to give it a prompt to follow. Right. So if I come here now and say, okay, I don't need January in full. I need it as JAN. I come here and say, hey, I need you as JAN. It's just like the way you do ChatGPT. The same thing works here. So if I come here and walk through down, it will give me all of them in the short form as well. Okay. What about what? Days. If I come here and say Sunday, chill now. We are with you. If I do the same thing, you would also feel the same way. So today's date is what? 11/06/2025. Now, when you see this hash, don't be scared. It just means that your house cannot contain you again. Right? So you just need to or that your shirt, that your favorite shirt, it's now tight on you. It's not on the hair. So all you need to do is go to tailor, let tailor add material. So you can, when you take your cursor to the to that particular column, you can either double click on the line there or click and drag. Right? So to answer this man's question, let's see. When I drag down, now because the way my date is, my own date is month, day, year. So it's now what is changing is the months. Last month, yes. Yes, exactly. So, but you get what we are trying to do here. I mean, that's my own business. So, yes. Okay, I also wanted to remember. I also talked about patterns. So let's assume we also want to get the serial number as well. You know that sort of thing where you have a data with numerous records, and then we want to number this. So I can come here and say, this is my serial number. So if I come here and say 1, if I drag down, it will fill everything with 1. So I need to come here and also give it a pattern and say, guy, the next one is 2. So if I highlight the 2 of them, and then I can now drag down. So it now recognizes that, okay, you mean 1, 2, 3. And then it's also smart to understand same patterns. So maybe you don't want to do 1, you don't want to do it in 1s, you want to do it in 2s or 3s or 5s, as the case may be. If you come ahead here and say, maybe this one, the first one is 2, and then it went to 4, and then maybe it now went to 10. And then if I highlight the 3 of them and drag down, it's going to give, if you see, when it came to this part, it added 2 here. When it came to this part, it added 10 here. When it came to, of course, it's because it is approximated. That's why you're seeing a bit of disparity here. But all I'm just trying to explain to you is that whatever pattern you give to Excel, it would follow through. All right. Moving on. Please, any questions? Any question? It's understandable, Abi. All right. So, yes, please.
Please, I want to know the actual bar that you click that this budget came out, the full stop budget. Or is it already stored in your system?
In here.
Okay.
The data I just brought in for practice. Nothing. I didn't do any magic. It's the data I just brought. Yes, please. Please give him the mic.
If you want to merge the cells now, because there was a day that I was just playing with Excel like this, and I couldn't match the cells. I tried, but luckily I was able to do. But
how you did it?
I did it. I could not remember again. So I want you to just help me how to merge to like these full stops now. Watch your way.
All right. That's what we are going into now. We want to move into that. But with what we have done so far, we are all clear, yeah? All right. So we want to create a table like this. All right. And let me come to, I need somewhere I can see I'm just going to delete all of this. Okay, so this works for me. Sorry, come this way. Okay, so the first thing we want to create is the title. And the title is a foodstuff budget, right? So I'll come here and say foodstuff budget. Okay. And then we have the foodstuff. I did not say budget now. F2. Foodstuff. Okay. So yes, give me foodstuff. Carbon is okay. Rice, stock, fish, beans, bread, plantain. Capuchin. Okay. You don't do. So here we want to put the months of the year, right? So in the example here, we did from January to June. So let's do July, from July. So I'm going to, remember I've taught you fill, right? So I'll use the fill to and drag to December, right? So just take these guys off. Okay, so we're making progress. So let's assume, what's your name? Okay, so Destiny went to the market in July and she bought rice. How much?
75K. Is it go? Or is it
8,000. Okay. Hope is a foreign rice. So, okay, so in August it increased to, okay, so let's 9.5. Okay. 9.5. So let's just say it increased 1.5 all through. Right, okay. And then Stockfish, ma with cap. What's your name, ma? Yes. Okay, so Kindness went to the market in July to buy Stockfish. That one that is big like my hand, the full length. So, okay, which one do you used to buy? Which one do you used to buy? It's not you that went to the market. Yes, Destiny. You don't know. You don't know cook. Destiny. Okay, which one do you used to buy? Which one have you bought before? People should allow. Yeah? Which one have you bought before? Okay, what of plantain? Which one?
Stockfish.
You want to give me price for Stockfish now?
Okay, I should give you price for Stockfish. I should just give you any amount.
Give me any amount. Give me any amount.
Okay, 4,000.
4,000. Okay.
Hello.
So in August, you
5,000.
Not really demand in August if you brought.
okay. Nice. So let's say it went to 2.5, right? 2.5. So did it go high in September? Okay, 3K. Okay, so let's use that to just run through.
Don't go the show. No. December time, they're not going to buy stuff.
So
What are they buying? Rice and chicken.
Ma, the one you on white. Yes. How much did you buy beans last?
6,000.
6,000. Okay. Red or white? Okay. Okay. So let's just, so we don't kill time, I'll just go ahead to just use random figures. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let me just add a random figure here, 3K, and this will be 5,000. Because I don't want us to dwell so much here, I'll just do this. Plantain cannot be 3,000, have you? So, I've not bought plantain in like. How much is happiness? How much is Capricon? 4.5. Okay. 4.5. But yeah, I mean, we all know this is just for learning purpose, right? Don't go to the market and say, my tutor said Capricon is sorry, what's there? The Stockfish is 3,000. I will just deny you. Let me just do this all through. Okay, so yeah, we've been able to create. We're making progress. I need to give these guys. I want to approximate this. So what you can do here in Excel, if you look at your number, there's a column, a category here called numbers. So if you look to the far right, that's on that category column, you would see there are arrows point one to the right, one to the left. All right. Now, if I want to reduce the decimal places, if I want to decrease it, you can see I'm basically approximating it, right? So I can just keep clicking till I don't see them anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So yeah, we're making progress. So what we can do now here is so this is our header. We want to have it all aboard here. So what we can do is I've highlighted everything here I want. But before I do that, let me include my total here. Total. What did I say is the function for total? Sum. Okay, so somebody has said the correct thing. Equals to sum. So equals to sum, bracket open. I can select everything here. And I can close my bracket and hit enter. However, there's a shortcut. I know you like shortcuts. So instead of having to write equals to sum, blah, 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 on my keyboard, there's something called Alt. So I can say Alt equals to. And so, but for Alt equals to work, those numbers have to be by the side of where you want the result to be. Just like this. Now, this is where we want our result to be, because it's going to look for the numbers you actually want to sum. So they have to be by the side of it for that shortcut to work. So once I do enter, I can just go ahead to use my fill tool to drag down. So it just goes to adds. Yeah. All right. So making progress. I'll just do the same thing here. Alt equals to enter, and then drag through. Okay. Why are you having fractions there? Okay, those guys that were so I'll just highlight and okay. At this point, are we on the same page? Yes, please.
Places, won't it alter the total data? Won't it alter the figures?
How? Come again.
Okay,
Come
so
again.
like if you go back,
Mhm.
you'd see the approximation is supposed to be maybe we have 6, 7. You could like in maths, they could say approximate to 1 to the minus figure. Yes. So now, but that's not happening here. It just goes off the cells. Won't it affect the
No, it's not
total?
going off the cell. It's that thing you actually said in maths. That's what it's doing.
Okay.
So it's if I let me bring it back. This so if 7 turns to 1 and comes to this guy 7, the same thing round through. So if I come here and do the same thing, you can see it has turned to 7 as well. Right. So it's the same. It's just that it does not have pen and paper to be showing you. So right. So yeah, we've made progress. The next thing we want to do now here, like I was mentioning, the headings, right? So I'll just highlight all of them. And then if you look at under your alignment category here, you have what you call merge and center. Merge and center. From the back, can we see? Okay. So when I click on merge and center, it has merged all of those cells. And then our text is now at the center. Okay. So I can do a bit of formatting to taste, right? Maybe I'll just turn this to bold. I don't like this font. So I'm just going to change mine. So this is where you change your font, under the font category. I love to make use of Montserrat. So I'll just search for Montserrat. Where's my guy? It's not here. What did I type in? Montse. Okay. I don't have it. That's weird. Okay, what of Comic Sans? Comic. Yeah, Comic Sans. Should be somewhere. Comic Sans. Yeah, this one guy. Okay. So again, I want to make this guy a bit of I want to give it some colors. All right, so if you are still under this font, you will see there's one bucket that is looking like it wants to fall. This bucket. If you click on the drop down arrow, you can go ahead to select whatever color you want. I'm a fan of blue, so I'll use blue, or I can use this dark blue here. Now let me go with this guy. And then of course, the write-up is not so clear again, so I have to give a contrasting color. So you can see where that A that has a color under, I'm going to change the color to white. All right, and I can increase my font size two ways. Either I come here and click on the drop down arrow to increase the font size, or you see you have two capital letter E's here. The bigger one is to increase the size, the smaller one is to reduce the size. So I'm just going to increase the size a bit to, maybe this is fair. Okay, this is fair. And yeah, so let's just play around with this guy. So for all of these guys here, I want to give another shade of blue. So I'm going to come here and maybe something like this. This is better off. And for these guys, I want to give another shade of, let me see, a shade of peach. Good. This or this guy, which will work. Okay, yeah, this way. And then for all of these guys, no, not the total. I'm just going to maybe oh, okay. Okay. And then for these guys, I'd love to go, since that's total, either I make, sorry, not you. I could go with green. Maybe I want to use these guys as red. All right, so we have been able to make our table. However, when we want to, when you want to print this, it won't give you, by default, you have grid lines on your Excel sheet. But if you try to print this, it won't come out with grid lines. So you need to actually include those grid lines. So let's do a practice. If I do Control P means to print, right? Why am I not having my preview? Okay. So you can see this is our work, right? You can see it's not having those lines. So we need to go add the border lines. So what I can do is Control A. I've highlighted everything here. Now you can see still on the fonts category, you will see this guy. So I'll click on the drop down here and say I want all borders. Because depending on what you want, if you want left border, it means it's only going to add the border on the left side. But when you say all borders, you can see we now have all our borders here. So if I go again and say I want to print, you can see that we have everything here. But now look at something. Do you notice that it is cutting see the remaining half of this guy, see it here. See our table. A part of it is on sheet 2, while the other one is in sheet 3. So if it's going to print, it's going to scatter them like this. Some of you who may have worked with Excel before, you notice when you want to print, it's now cutting. So what do? You need to actually the ones you want in group 1, in page 1, or if you want everything to be in page 1, you can still do that. So what do? When you come to still on your sheet here, if you look at the far right corner here, you see you have three different types of layouts. You have the normal, which is this one. Then you have the what's this called? Page layout. And then the last one is the page break preview. So at this point, this is where you now decide who should be in page 1, who should be in page 2, who should be in page 3. And so I don't think I need this page 4. So what I can do is, what's in this? Why do we have page 5? So I can decide to take off these guys. I don't need all of this. You see where I took the line, those lines. And then now page 1, I want everything on this guy. Everything on this guy to be in page 1. So this line here, I'll click and drag to this point. So you can see this is now page 1. And everything here is now page 2. So when I go ahead to print again, you should see that everybody is in, this one now is in page 1, and this is page 2. Any question? Yes, please. Go ahead now, go ahead. How do I get Naira sign?
And the Naira sign, because all these ones did not have a Naira sign, but your former one has Naira sign.
All right, good question. So yeah, she's a patriotic citizen. She's looking for her country's. All right. So what we do, to get the Naira sign? But actually, that's a good question, though. So please listen to. So I'm just going to highlight all of them here, and I'll go to the number category here. All right, and then you can see by default it's on general. So I'll click on the drop down here, and I'll go to more number formats. More number formats. When I click on that, this drop down comes up, and I'll go to currency because Naira is a currency, yeah? So I'll go to currency, and by default, the symbol is on none. So I'll change it. I'll go and look for Naira. So Naira should be somewhere. Okay, yeah, you can see you have Fula, Hausa, Ibibio, Igbo, Yoruba. They've removed Edo. See Edo. Because I'm from Edo State, I will select Edo. It's the same thing though. So I'll just select this guy, and then if I want it in if I want to include decimal places, I can leave this guy as 2, or maybe how many, depends on the number of decimal places I want. However, I don't need it, so I'm just going to change it to 0, and then I can say okay, and then it goes ahead to include the Naira sign for me. Clap for me now. Yes, please. Any other question? So, what class are you? What was your course? I know. I know. You can watch the recording. You can watch the recording. So, any question?
So just cover the entire paper.
Yeah, so for that, you go to page layout and then change the orientation from portrait to landscape. there's really a lot you can do with Microsoft Excel, really. And trust me, it's not everything you'll be taught here. So you need to also go back, and explore. Yeah.
Now, if you have it, have a list of the peoples. I forgot maybe. Okay, there's no yam there. Yam. Yam supposed to come in between stockfish and beans.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add yam in between stockfish and beans. How do I go about it?
You want to add yam. Okay. So what you may do is, hello, can we have one house? Between stockfish and beans, right? So I can come to, is that beans? Where am I? Where is my listen? Okay, yeah. So I would right click and say insert. So it inserts a row above, and then I can go ahead to now start typing my yam. And then you insert the record as follows. Any question? Yeah, Uza Desmonds, your hand is raised up online. What's your question? Sorry, give me a second. I'll give you room to speak. Okay, yeah, you can speak now, Uza.
Okay. What I want to ask is that how
Come
you
again?
got that drawdown, the drawdown for those what's it called, the Naira sign.
Hold on. Give me a second, please, Uza. Give me a second. Oh. Okay, you can speak now, Uza. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what I was saying is that which icon did you click that you got the that drawdown for the Naira sign?
Which icon did I click to get
Yeah.
the Naira sign?
Mm.
We clicked on under the number category. We changed the currency. Sorry, the data type there from general to number to currency.
Okay.
That was what we did.
Okay.
So we changed it to current. We went to more number format, and under currency, we selected the symbol here to the Naira sign.
Under what?
Where are you?
Just here. This one.
I said go to more number formats. You would see currency,
Okay.
and then change the symbol to Naira.
Okay. Okay.